Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
My ma gets regular contact from her dead family. Okay, this won't be that spooky as you want, but there's some weird stories. My mother is a very superstitious person. She also gets these feelings that she or somebody shouldn't do X or Y. Sometimes I joke about her that she's a voodoo witch. Obviously, this joke is unrelated since we live in Poland, East Europe, only religion is Christianity. Anyway, she gets these dreams. Dreams about dead family members. Like her mom, her dad, her grandpa, her mom's ma. Dreams are random average stuff like talking to them about their daily stuff like their flowers in the garden. But the thing the next day after dream is weird. Most of the dreams happen before major things happening in life. The weird part is sometimes we are not aware about things coming the next day. Somehow the dream with a dead family member is always a good sign. Ma tells me about her dream of visiting her grandma. Later I pick her up from work. The road is wet because it was raining all day. Some guy doesn't yield. I near miss him. I nearly missed another car that was in the second lane. Lose my grip from the moose test swing. Regain control next sec. Avoided crashing into two cars and a concrete barrier. I spent the next 5 minutes in the closest car park trying to calm down my shaking. Ma says we survived because of my skills and because her grandma helped us. These situations keep on happening. I got weird mole on my thigh. It was weirdly shaped and growing outside. Decided to cut it out. It's either a normal mole that weirded out because of the spot that was constantly rubbing on jeans or cancer. Ma panics that it's cancer. She always panics. Morning before treatment. Ma is very calm. I ask her why she stopped panicking. She says she had a dream where her parents were talking. Anyway, I went to the clinic and the mole got cut out, waiting for analyses. Turns out it's a regular mole and I'm not dying of cancer. Anyway, the scheme was always the same. My mother gets a dream, then things the next day get good or we avoid bad things. But somehow it changed after her mother's death. Grandpa and grandma died a very long time ago, like 20 years ago. My grandma lived with my uncle and his family. Cutting long story short, uncle and family was always bad for her. Grandma eventually got a bit crazy and got verbally aggressive to everyone she had contact with. Well, maybe except me because she loved me. We said that she spent too much time with toxic family that they got venomous. Grandma is especially toxic on Ma, picking on her flaws. Generally, she was evil to her own daughter. My mom cried a lot. 2021. Grandma got sick. Doctors in the hospital are rated R for reckless. They stopped giving her heart pills that she needed all her life. Grandma can't walk, barely moves, but doc says tomorrow she will be ready to leave the hospital. I forgot to say, my ma sleeps poorly. She always wakes up multiple times a night. Next morning my mom tells me about a dream about grandma. Grandma in dream is standing by bed. My mom asks, shocked that she can walk again. Grandma replies with a simple yup. Mom asks about her luggage bag from the hospital, where it is located. We bring our own clothing, etc., and when leaving we take it with us. Grandma shrugs it off, and the dream ends. The dream took place in the morning hours, somewhere between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. We ignore the dream, thinking it was because today grandma leaves the hospital, and my ma thinks about it. My mom gets a call from the hospital. Grandma died. Died in early morning hours around 7 to 9 p.m. My mom panics that the dream was the grandma dying, and that's why she saw grandma walking. Because the dead are no longer disabled. After her death, things got complicated. All that was left after her was an old radio, TV, furniture, half a house and farmland. And a jar of cash. Around 30K of our money. No will. My ma and uncle decided to split that 2-to-1. Because my ma took care of grandma and will take care of her grave. Uncle is in remorse, so agrees on an even split. My ma gives me 10K for helping me with taking care of grandma. We received no instructions from grandma about how she wanted to be buried except grandma's last clothing choice. In our country, people close to death tell their family how they want their funeral. The funeral goes mostly fine, but obviously another weird thing happened. Grandma was a farmer all life and she loved cows. They were her favorite animals. She had also pigs, hens, dog, cats, but cows were always her loved ones. On a funeral day, one of the cows is giving birth. Normally cows need human help because things can get complicated and cows may die without assistance. But that day nobody can help the cow because everyone is at the funeral. There's this tradition that the body is first left at the chapel for last prayers, then the hearse takes the body and drives to church for the main funeral and then to the graveyard. The road from chapel to church goes by Grandma's house. When this happens, hearse drivers always do one extra thing. They stop the car by the house, open the rear door for a minute, and then close it and continue the drive. It's something like letting a soul saying their last goodbye to their home. The rest of the funeral goes normal. After the funeral, it turns out the cow gave birth and both animals are in good shape. My mother says it's because when the hearse stopped, the grandma went to the cow and helped her. I got $10,000 and bought my dream car, a used one obviously. My mother takes care of Grandma's grave. One day she had a bad dream where she was arguing with Grandma. My mother was angry that Grandma didn't tell us how to split the money. Grandma was just verbally aggressive like she used to be in her last years of life. After that, things go bad. My mother has a problem at her job. My car keeps breaking down. Most mechanics considered it one of the most reliable cars ever made. But still, it's the car that got towed the most times out of any other cars I previously owned. Even my mechanic got weirded out how often my car broke down. One time my wheel fell off. My suspension rusted out. My mechanic is weirded out that he has never seen that part rust in this spot. Meanwhile, my job turns to piss. Try finding a new job. I've sent hundreds of resumes, no reply for any, even though I had 7 years plus of experience in my branch. Slowly thinking about rope. My mom's job turned to piss. We literally go every weekend to Grandma's grave to light a new candle to keep her happy. This goes on for 2 years, but eventually we went there once a month. Meanwhile, Ma's boss tells her to find a new job. My ma applies for a new job but no answer. I barely make ends meet because the mechanic bills are killing me and I can't get a pay raise or get a better or any job. While browsing documents, I found out that the farmland after Grandma's death wasn't split between Uncle and my ma. I started to push them to sort it out. Mostly because after their death it will be impossible to sort it out between me and my cousin. The procedures take ages. Finally, the day comes when we apply for the final document. Quest completed. Now half of the land is owned by my mother, second half owned by Uncle. Days pass, and my mother gets a new job. My job got a bit better, no pay rise but less toxic. My ma starts joking that my car stopped breaking down. We still don't see the connection. I get a call from an office that I applied to 3 months ago. My ma laughs that maybe we were cursed by someone and now the curse ended. I tell her that there's nobody that would curse both of us. Well, technically somebody can curse you and your family, but most people we have problems with are mostly atheists and don't believe in curses. I tell my ma that this ended after we sorted out the farmland. My man thinks that it makes no sense. I explain to her that the land was still owned by a dead grandma, and now Grandma doesn't own anything on earth. My mother freaks out and tells me that had one of those family dreams the day after the sorted out farmland ownership. We are not sure what the problem was, but it seemed like for 2 years we were in endless bad luck from small to big things, and it all ended. It's hard to pinpoint when, but it happened somewhere between starting solving the farmland issue and finalizing it. Oh, I forgot one incident. This one somehow is my dream of my family. I never dream about my family. If it happens, it's totally random and doesn't affect the next day. My mother was waiting for a call from new job if she's been hired. The call should be within a week. Days pass, Ma freaks out. One night I had a dream. It's screwed up, but most of my dreams are messed up. I dream that my grandma owns a toy store and my grand-grandma lives downstairs. I chop down wood for my great-grandma and she's very grateful for that. Wake up, go to work, nothing unusual. I got home and my mom told me she got the call and she got the job. I finally told her about the dream. Am I also becoming psychic?
Aunt died suddenly and started terrorizing her house and my family's house. We live close by. Dad called the local priestess to find out why she's still haunting her and his house. Some relatives came over to observe the priestess's ritual. Her spirit told us she was killed by black magic. Everyone went WTF. We knew she had sued some guy who had cheated her claim to a land and sold it to someone else. She said both worked together and employed witch doctors to kill her subtly. Dad was worried since he took over to claim the right to the land through court. Whole family might be killed. Family maid knows a guy who can help. The guy used to actually live with us when he's a kid. The guy flew over and we brought it to my late aunt's house the next day. He looked around and instantly said that she was blind when she died. Yes, she was blind before she died. He also said that it actually wasn't her time to die and told us she was killed by black magic with supernatural help. Whole family was shocked. We didn't tell him anything, but everything he said was correct. Even pointed out where my late aunt ghost is. He noticed some weird energies around some trees around my aunt's house and asked if he could dig around. We helped him dig where he pointed and found some weird metal objects. Told us that weird negative beings are actually roaming around her house because of these metal objects. Probably for protection, but he said it can be harmful to us. Dad told him he always sees a large shadow at where the metal was planted. Ran for his life every single time. Cleanse the whole area and make an invisible shield to protect the family from any negative magic or beings. Nothing negative can enter the area. Told us that every good deed, charity, or prayers done, the shield gets stronger. Thanked the guy profusely and he flew back. Fast forward to a few months ago, I was getting ready for my college graduation. It was the haze season that day. One day before graduation, I wasn't feeling well. Felt like I was choking and thought it was due to the haze. Can't sleep well due to the feeling of being choked. Parents were worried as I was having rough breathing. Woke up feeling very weak. I can't even swallow my breakfast. Ended up puking in the toilet without stopping. Parents quickly realized something was very wrong and decided to call the previous guy who helped us. I lost consciousness as soon as I heard his voice. I didn't really black out, more like I could hear his voice, but I couldn't control my body and my eyes wouldn't open. Suddenly I started to laugh. It wasn't me, but I knew I was possessed. Saw a really old lady in my inner consciousness. Hell, I got angry. My body started thrashing and laughing uncontrollably. My dad, twice my size, had a hard time trying to stop my thrashing. The guy told my mom to take a cup of water and he prayed over it. Gave my unconscious body to drink but was refused, badly. The guy told my dad to pinch my nose so my body is forced to drink the water. He started calling my name to return my soul to my body. Suddenly my body stopped thrashing, but my dad saw that my eyes had gone completely white. Freaked me out when dad told me. The guy told mom to put her fingers on my forehead while he started praying again. After an hour, I returned back to consciousness. The guy told us that it was lucky he was called quickly. If not, my soul would have drifted away from my body, taken by the old lady. Said it was a malevolent spirit and would end up dead. Whole body was aching and tired, so I had no choice but to miss my graduation ceremony. After coming back, parents decided to ask the guy if he could come over to help us again. He said yes, and we quickly booked a flight for him. He gave me a weird look the instant he saw me, but said nothing. I decided he would tell me later. After having a moment to rest, the guy then told us that the two guys who had killed Aunt sent a lot of negative energies, spirits, jinns toward the house. He noticed that I was depressed and stressed. I told him how he knew, and he replied that the energy around me was very negative and so spirits were about to enter into me. He decided to communicate with the spirits inside me. Body lost consciousness again and my body was vibrating suddenly. He managed to find one spirit in me and befriend it. He asked the spirit to show him if there are many spirits in the house. My head can only nod because it seems that this type of spirit can't talk human language, but rather it growls and grunt. My body starts to move on its own with my eyes closed. The spirit pointed to each corner where there were ghosts. Some on the corner of my brother's room, some on his bed, one was on my bed, and there was some on my parents' room ceiling. The guy then told the spirit controlling my body to tell him where's the spirit's leader. My hand pointed up. Ordered the spirit to bring down the leader. My body suddenly sat up and suddenly, in my conscious mind, I felt like I was pulling something down. Now my body was taken over by the leader. The guy questions the leader and was able to befriend it. Finds out an imp is the leader. Asked the imp how the other spirits were able to enter into the house area since there's a shield protecting the area. Imp told him through the food that the whole family eats. The guy then asks the imp what is their purpose for coming here. And surprise surprise, it was to kill the whole family. Turns out we were given a sacrifice. The guy then asks the imp who sent them, and again, it's the two guys who cheated my late aunt. The guy decided that that was enough information and told the imp to leave my family alone and to bring the other spirits away from my family or he will destroy them. Next morning, I woke up possessed again. Brother found me just laying on the bed breathing heavily and crying. He woke the guy to try to help me to wake up. He starts praying again and calls my name. I suddenly stop crying and he starts talking to the spirit controlling me right now. A few minutes talking and shouting the spirit, it turns out this spirit is protecting me. It brought my soul back into my body and was fighting off other negative spirits. One by one, the guy found out that I had inherited my ancestors' protectors. My paternal side of the family has a long line of headhunters and priestesses, and thus they have acquired a lot of spiritual protectors, mostly in animal shape. My grandmother used to be a local priestess, and it seems these things are passed down to me. Found out I have 7 guardians in me, and they were not able to manifest themselves because the spiritual door inside me was closed. The guys then cleansed me and told me that with the guardians now free, I will be able to see, hear and smell spirits, ghosts, but I wouldn't fear them. What the guy says is true. Within a week, I saw many spirits circling around my home area. One particular one was a gigantic thing with furs covering its body. It was weird, but somehow it wasn't that scary but more odd to me.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.